Canada just pulled off the Arctic version of a diplomatic mic drop and almost no one saw it coming. While the world was still laughing at the idea of the US buying Greenland like it was some luxury condo, Canada quietly opened a consulate in Nuuk. No press spectacle. No headlines about ownership. Just a low-key but powerful move that might reshape the entire balance of Arctic influence. Greenland responded immediately and positively, which says a lot, because let's not forget, when the US floated the idea of purchasing Greenland, not once but multiple times, the reaction from
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
Greenland's leaders was a firm, I see no. Greenland has been clear. They're not a commodity. They're not for sale. They're building toward autonomy, sustainable development, and control over their own future. So why does Canada's move hit so differently? Simple. It wasn't about control, it was about respect. It wasn't about acquiring land, it was about building trust. And Greenland picked up on that immediately. Canada's move was a strategic contrast to the American approach. Less ownership and power, more partnership and cooperation. Now let's rewind just a bit. Greenland's been gaining attention for years, thanks to its treasure chest of natural resources and its strategic location in the Arctic. As the ice continues to melt, new trade routes are opening, and global powers are eyeing the region like it's the next geopolitical jackpot. Greenland is sitting on valuable minerals, rare earths, and access to future shipping corridors. It's no wonder countries are lining up at the door. But Greenland's not interested in being someone else's stepping stone. Their priorities are clear: economic independence, cultural preservation, environmental sustainability, and strategic autonomy. They're playing the long game, and they're doing it their way. Enter Canada with a playbook that actually aligns with Greenland's goals. By setting up a consulate in Nuuk, Canada's not just making a diplomatic gesture. They're signaling alignment, culturally, economically, and strategically. There's real weight behind that gesture. Greenland and Canada already share deep Inuit connections. Families, language, traditions, they span both sides of the Arctic. That cultural bond isn't just symbolic, it's practical. It builds trust, and trust is the real currency in Arctic diplomacy right now. Compare that to the US's approach. Donald Trump's headline-making offer to buy Greenland wasn't just tone-deaf, it fundamentally misunderstood the moment. Greenland is pushing towards self-determination, not dependency. So when a superpower walks in like a real estate investor trying to close a deal, it doesn't land well. At all. Greenland said no. Repeatedly. And in doing so, they opened the door to a very different kind of partnership, one based on mutual respect, not leverage. And Canada walked right through that door. But this isn't just a warm and fuzzy cultural story. It's economic, it's strategic, and it's about the future of the Arctic as a whole. Greenland is rapidly positioning itself as a hub for clean energy, sustainable mining, and climate-conscious supply chains. Hydropower, solar energy, and green tech are central to their 2025 to 2029 development strategy. They're not interested in extractive deals that wreck their land for short-term profit. They want investment that aligns with their climate goals, supports local economies, and opens doors to European markets that are demanding sustainability. That's where Canada comes in again. With its experience in low-carbon industries, renewable energy, and Arctic infrastructure, Canada isn't just showing up as a neighbor. It's showing up as a collaborator, one with the technology, policies, and credibility to help Greenland build the future it actually wants. And let's talk location. Greenland's position in the Arctic is only becoming more valuable as new shipping lanes emerge with the seasonal melting of ice. These aren't just hypothetical trade routes, these are potential new global corridors for everything from minerals to consumer goods. Greenland could become a logistical centerpiece for Arctic commerce. Canada, sharing a direct Arctic border and already investing in northern development, is well placed to help shape that future. Whether it's through ports, sustainable transport, or clean energy corridors, there's massive potential for mutual gain. The big picture here is that the Arctic is transforming fast, and there's a growing divide between two very different models of influence. One says, dominate, control, own. The other says, collaborate, respect, build. Canada is clearly backing the second model, and Greenland is responding in kind. It's not just that the US failed to buy Greenland, it's that the entire framework of that offer was out of sync with where Greenland is heading. They don't want to be absorbed into someone else's vision. They want partners who understand their priorities and support their autonomy. That's what makes Canada's consulate in Nuuk so symbolic. It's not just a flag on a building, it's a flag on a strategy. One that says, we're here to work with you, not claim you. And the timing couldn't be more relevant.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
As the global economy starts factoring Arctic routes and resources into long-term planning, countries like China, Russia, the US, and members of the EU are all circling. Everyone wants a stake, but Greenland's made it clear that influence in their territory won't come through pressure or purchase. It'll come through partnership. Canada's approach proves it's listening, and while this may seem like a quiet shift, the consequences could be massive. If Greenland and Canada deepen ties through culture, energy, trade, or science, they could help redefine how Arctic diplomacy is done, not through brute power or geopolitical chess, but through trust and aligned interests. This is especially important because it signals a move away from old-school geopolitics where land was something to be taken, not collaborated with. Greenland's not asking to be saved or bought. It's asking to be respected. And Canada's response: we hear you. So while other countries are still treating the Arctic like a Cold War chessboard, Canada and Greenland are drafting a new set of rules, ones rooted in community, sustainability, and strategic pragmatism. The irony: the country that made the loudest noise about Greenland offering to buy it, making global headlines, and sparking memes ended up with nothing but a diplomatic black eye. Meanwhile, Canada, operating with quiet confidence and cultural awareness, actually gained influence, not by force, not by price, but by presence. That says a lot about where things are heading. In the end, this isn't just a Canada versus US moment. It's a case study in how modern diplomacy is evolving. Greenland is asserting itself, shaping its own narrative, and rejecting outdated power plays. Canada recognized that and responded accordingly with humility, with tact, and with a long-term vision. The Arctic's future won't be written by whoever talks the loudest. It'll be shaped by those who listen, collaborate, and respect the realities on the ground. Greenland has already set the tone. And Canada, well, they just became one of the few countries actually in step with it. As Arctic ice melts and trade routes emerge, this won't stay a niche geopolitical story for long. The region is becoming a central piece of the global puzzle, linking energy, climate, trade, and indigenous rights. Countries that understand this complexity and act accordingly will shape the rules of engagement for decades. So the real takeaway: Greenland isn't up for sale, but they are open for partnership if you come correct. Canada did, and it might just change the game. If you're as fascinated by this Arctic shakeup as we are, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who still thinks Greenland's for sale, and drop a comment below with your take on Canada's move. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the wild world of geopolitics, meltdowns, and the moments that define the global drama. And here's the twist nobody talks about. Canada didn't just gain Greenland's trust, it may have carved out a new path for global influence without even breaking a sweat. In a world where geopolitical power often looks like military posturing, economic muscle flexing, or headline-grabbing drama, Canada just played the quiet card. And it worked. That's the real plot twist. No bombastic announcements. No "we're here to protect democracy" speeches. Just a diplomatic office in Nuuk and centuries of cultural connection backing it up. If this were a movie, Canada would be the soft-spoken character who doesn't say much until halfway through, then delivers one line that changes everything. That's exactly what this consulate move did. Because now, it's not just about Arctic resources or melting ice caps. It's about how the world treats Greenland. And Greenland, for the record, is not here to be treated like a trophy. This isn't the 19th century. The age of buying land like Monopoly squares is over. Greenland has made its stance crystal clear. We're not for sale, we're for ourselves. They want autonomy, not annexation. Economic development, not dependency. Cultural preservation, not erasure. And Canada understood the assignment. So what does that mean for everyone else trying to get a slice of the Arctic? Well, it means the bar has been raised. If you're coming to the Arctic table with outdated ideas about control, you're going to be politely or maybe not so politely shown the door. Greenland's leadership is done entertaining offers that reduce their identity to real estate value. And if you're still operating like it's 1950, you're getting left behind. Because let's be real, who wants to align themselves with someone trying to buy them, not Greenland? Instead, they're aligning with countries that are listening. And more importantly, with countries that are helping them build the future they've chosen. One rooted in sustainability, low-carbon industries, and economic independence. You think this is just a one-off diplomatic gesture? Think again. Canada's move is part of a broader realignment. Across the Arctic, Indigenous voices, environmental priorities, and cultural preservation are becoming non-negotiable pillars of diplomacy. Canada's strong Inuit ties and shared cultural history give it a legitimacy others can't fake. That's not something you can manufacture overnight with flashy investments or press releases. Meanwhile, Greenland's strategy is razor-sharp. They're not just sitting on resources, they're building a clean energy plan to extract those resources without compromising their environment. And they're not looking for investors who treat sustainability like a buzzword. They're looking for real, grounded partners who can help bring hydropower, solar energy, and clean tech mining online. You know who has expertise in that? Canada. It's not just geographical proximity. It's not just political convenience. It's alignment on values, on strategy, and on the big picture. The US, to its credit, has historically been a dominant force in Arctic affairs. But when it came to Greenland, the miscalculation was hard to ignore. The Buy Greenland proposal didn't just fall flat, it highlighted a fundamental disconnect. You can't treat an aspiring autonomous region like it's a land parcel on Zillow and expect goodwill in return. The fallout from that approach created the perfect opening for Canada. Instead of pushing, they offered support. Instead of grandstanding, they engaged quietly. And instead of treating Greenland like a transaction, they treated it like a partner. And Greenland noticed. The immediate warmth in response to Canada's consulate wasn't just diplomatic politeness, it was validation. Validation that someone out there actually gets it. That someone isn't trying to turn Greenland into the backdrop of another geopolitical power play. This is more than just a good headline for Canada, it's a strategic positioning masterclass. Because here's what's coming. As the Arctic becomes more central to trade, energy, and global security, every major player will want a foothold. But the rules of influence have changed. It's not about who has the most aircraft carriers or who can throw down the biggest check. It's about who Greenland and its people want to work with. And right now, Canada is earning that trust. That trust doesn't just open doors for diplomacy, it opens doors for infrastructure, clean tech partnerships, and access to emerging Arctic routes that could rewrite the global shipping map. Shorter trade routes mean faster deliveries, lower costs, and reduced emissions. That's a big deal for countries racing to meet climate goals and rewire their supply chains. Greenland is positioned smack in the middle of all that. And if you're working with Greenland, you're not just securing resources, you're securing access to the future of Arctic commerce. But here's the kicker, it's only going to work if Greenland is in the driver's seat. And Canada seems to be one of the few nations willing to ride shotgun without trying to grab the wheel. This shift isn't just a moral win, it's a strategic one. Greenland's development strategy is laser-focused on green energy, environmental protection, and long-term economic sustainability. They're not chasing quick cash. They're looking at what the Arctic will be in 10, 20, even 50 years. And they want partners who are thinking that far ahead too. Canada's approach, rooted in mutual benefit and cultural respect, isn't just working. It's setting a new standard. Meanwhile, countries still stuck on old models of pressure and control are watching their influence quietly erode. Because Greenland isn't waiting around to be told what to do. They're making moves. Strategic ones. Ones that reward partners who understand autonomy isn't a threat, it's the foundation. If you zoom out, this whole saga reveals a bigger trend. Across the globe, nations and regions that were once treated as pawns in great power games are asserting themselves. They're choosing partners who treat them as equals, who offer collaboration instead of control. Greenland is part of that wave, and Canada, whether by design or good diplomatic instincts, got on board at the right moment. The result? Canada now has a seat at the table, not because it demanded one, but because it earned it. And the contrast to the US approach couldn't be sharper. America's attempt to buy Greenland came off as transactional and dismissive. It didn't just fail, it opened the door for someone else to succeed by doing the exact opposite. If Greenland's path forward is built on cooperation, cultural understanding, and clean energy, then Canada just positioned itself as the ideal partner, not only for Greenland, but for other Arctic stakeholders watching this all unfold. Because this isn't just about one consulate. This is about redefining what power looks like in the 21st century Arctic. Not bombs, not checkbooks, relationships. And Canada, surprisingly or not, just became a diplomatic heavyweight in the region by leaning into exactly that. So now the world is paying attention. Other countries will have to rethink their Arctic strategy. They'll have to decide whether to keep pushing with outdated models or take notes from what's actually working. Because Greenland has drawn a line in the ice. And it's clear who they're willing to cross it with. And if you're still thinking of the Arctic as some remote, frozen wasteland, think again. It's becoming a geopolitical frontier, a hub for trade, a key piece in the climate change puzzle, a test case for indigenous sovereignty and post-colonial partnership. This is where the future is being quietly negotiated. So yes, Canada's consulate might seem like a small move on the surface, but in geopolitical terms, it's seismic. It sends a message not just to Greenland, but to every other Arctic player. The rules have changed. If you want in, you better bring respect, patience, and a plan that aligns with local values. Canada did, and it's paying off. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Canada didn't just walk into this with cultural charm and green tech brochures. They walked in with credibility. Because while other nations are still debating how to transition to sustainable energy, Canada has already been putting low-carbon strategies into practice, especially in the north. That matters to Greenland a lot when you're trying to build a mining industry powered by hydropower, not diesel generators. When you're trying to export rare earth minerals without torching your environment in the process, you want a partner who gets it. Not one who says all the right things at summits, but one who's been in the trenches, doing the hard, unglamorous work of making clean energy viable in harsh, remote environments. Canada knows that grind. That's why this partnership feels different. It's not a PR move. It's not a vanity project. It's a long-term alignment of interests with climate, economy, and culture all pulling in the same direction. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is watching Greenland like it's the last unclaimed piece on a geopolitical chessboard. But Greenland, they're flipping the board entirely. They're not interested in who gets to control the Arctic. They're focused on who's willing to build with them, on their terms. And if Canada plays this right, which, so far, they're not just winning Greenland's trust. They're helping define a whole new model of influence. One that doesn't rely on dominance, but on dignity, on relevance, on showing up with humility and a plan that actually benefits both sides. It's rare to see that work in real time, but that's exactly what's happening here. If you're as glued to this Arctic plot twist as we are, hit that like button, share this video with someone who still thinks Greenland is up for sale, and let us know in the comments what you think this means for the future of Arctic power. And don't forget to subscribe, we've got more global drama coming, and trust us, you don't want to miss what's next. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, you're officially part of the small percentage of people who don't just click away, and that means a lot. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me your thoughts, your ideas, or even what you'd like to see next. I read every single one of them, and your feedback genuinely shapes the direction of this channel. If you enjoyed the video, tap that like button, it tells YouTube this content is worth sharing. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next upload. We've got more exciting videos coming, and trust me, you'll want to be here for them. This channel is just getting started, and your support helps it grow faster than you realize. Thank you again for spending a part of your day here with me. Stay curious, stay motivated, and as always, take care of yourself. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.